The saga of West Coast salmon farms continues. Now, Provincial NDP Minister Popham is in hot water after a series of missteps over the last week or so. If you recall, since August, activists, along with local First Nations, have been occupying 2 farms near northern Vancouver Island. Both of those farms belong to a company called Marine Harvest Canada. Popham, the agriculture minister whose file includes salmon farms, penned a letter to Marine Harvest Canada admonishing the company for restocking the farm. She also hinted that she may be revoking the company's permits and evicting them from the area altogether. Quote, "I have recently become aware of Marine Harvest's decision to restock the Port Elizabeth salmon farm. It comes at a sensitive time. We are entering into sensitive discussions with some of the First Nations in the area who remain opposed to open net pen salmon farming in their territories." Unquote. Popham would go on to state, quote, "Whatever operational decisions you should choose to make, the province retains all of its rights under the current tenure agreements, including, potentially, the requirement that you return possession of the tenured sites at the end of the current terms." Unquote. The provincial government's permits with Marine Harvest Canada expire in June 2018. But don't you get the sense that that letter read more like an eviction notice than anything else? But that was just the tip of the iceberg with Popham. It also emerged that on October 15th, during CTV's W5 program, Popham made an allegation that a scientist, Dr. Gary Marty, who works at an Abbotsford, BC lab that studies farm salmon health, was facing a conflict of interest, and that the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans had asked her to investigate. The allegation stems from the fact Dr. Marty worked with a veterinarian who was employed by Marine Harvest Canada on a scientific report. That resulted in activists and First Nations filing a complaint attempting to get Dr. Marty fired because his research suggests the claims made by these activists as to the negative impacts of salmon farms are overblown. So, this all blew up this week when the BC Liberals then accused Popham of misleading the legislature by suggesting a phone call she made with the federal government resulted in asking her to review the lab. This was not the case, and eventually Premier Horgan had to take over and let his head of the civil service determine if an investigation is even actually needed. But as for Dr. Marty, who had his name besmirched by Popham and the activists, well, he took the high road, and he told the Vancouver Sun, quote, "I have 2 earned doctoral degrees. I am also board certified in veterinary pathology. I've been here for 12 years, and I kind of understand pretty well some of the dynamics that go on here. So while it's frustrating, it's not surprising. And I feel as the senior member of our 4-person fish pathology team that I have a responsibility to stand up and be a model for professionalism in all this, when maybe not everyone is behaving as professional as they could be." Unquote. Look, it's nice to see Dr. Marty handle this with such class. But the question still remains, why is this cabinet minister, whose job it is to responsibly oversee this industry, acting like she's an activist campaigning against the industry? I think I may have an idea. I want to show you a picture taken at an NDP fundraiser on October 21st. That's Popham right there hugging one of the protesters and activists, George Quack's sister. And there on the left is the self-appointed biologist, Alexandra Morton, whose fake science surrounding salmon farms we've covered at length here on this very channel. How on earth can an NDP cabinet minister claim there is a conflict of interest at a laboratory when she clearly faces her own conflict of interest with her chumminess and hugging of protesters while sending threatening letters to industry partners? Look, it's no wonder Premier Horgan had to take over this file. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks for watching. You know, these BC NDP, well, plain and simple, they're destroyers. Make sure you never miss any of my series on BC destroyers on Rebel Canada's YouTube page.